Hey, looks like we're live. Hey, everybody. Oh, that's right. We got a freeze frame, right?
Yes, and this time I want to make sure I was in the middle of the screen because I think listener Diane said I was off the screen because I think I was doing something like
Oh,
this
yeah.
and it cropped off. So it's like
Yeah,
there's a blank space right there.
that's right. Let's see. I am sending my last notes over. There you go. All right, so let's go. I'm going to share it on Facebook, which is, hey, by the way, anybody that's listening, maybe you've already seen this, but now when we schedule our shows, they actually come across as events in Facebook. So
Ooh,
you can
hint.
ask to be reminded. It does the same thing on YouTube as well.
That's very eventful.
That's right. Yeah. We're both looking off at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah. Now that's good. Well, I was going to say good audio because I used to do just an audio podcast. Now that's good video.
That's right. All right. Should be shared.
And does it automatically go out on Twitter? I don't know.
What's that?
The notice, or do you? I don't know what's set up manually and what's set up.
Oh, you know what? It does not go out on. I'm gonna share the YouTube on linked on Twitter.
Refresh this here.
Oh no, this is riveting, everybody. So sorry.
Do we have anybody? Hopefully, we have somebody here with us.
Is there anybody? No, not yet. Okay, so we don't have to apologize just yet. Well, they will see it later. All right. Topic is Trek. So see now we'll have to take that link and share it earlier. So all right. Make a tweet. Episode 6,126,000.
What?
Yeah.
I know it's been a long time, but that's ridiculous. It's been a long road to get. No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Never. It's been a long road. All right. I
Never
just made a
do
simple
that.
tweet. Oh, I got to improve my tweet game.
Does the job.
Yeah.
It does the job.
So I'll try to watch myself, but just in case anybody watches this later, I do. I'm at the tail end of a cold, so I should be okay. But if I'm not, I'll try to mute myself as need be, as I throw things around. There we go.
All right, and we are a person down this time around, so I will be trying to run tech over here off of my old cell phone. So that will always an interesting experience, especially when the screen goes blank. It times out on me after 30 minutes, and I go
Yeah,
scramble to get it back again. Hopefully, we won't have those problems. So every once in a while, I'll just look over here and move the screen around or something. All right, so if you are set and I am set, let me just get back to the show notes here because that's important. Okay. And I guess I can count myself down.
yeah, no, you got the music and everything.
I knock on wood, I do. All right, so here we go. In 5, 4, 3, 2. This is The Topic is Trek, episode 126 for Friday, October 28th, 2022. Coming up in this episode, are you game to play a game? We go deep in the heart of Texas-class ships. The Protostar makes contact, and that's not a good thing. All that and more, much, much more, right now on The Topic is Trek. The Final Frontier! Usually kills. Welcome to The Topic is Trek, the podcast that runs on impulse power. Join us for a journey where no show has gone before. If it has to do with Star Trek, there's a good chance we'll talk about it.
Or not.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another thrill-packed episode of The Topic is Trek. I am one of your co-hosts, Clinton, and again, welcome. And of course, to be a co-host, I must have other co-hosts, other people on the show with me. And so beaming in to join me, as always, hopefully I've got a transporter thing here, from parts unknown with the hip new catchphrase that all the kids will be talking about tomorrow around the hoop and stick yard is Mr. Craig Stepp.
Please let me blow up the warp core. I've been good this month.
Well, I think it's on point. I'm not quite sure it's gonna really have legs to be used all the time.
But I needs to be shorter, doesn't it?
I do think you are getting someplace with it. So keep working on it.
All right.
And normally we have Mr. Chuck Tomasi with us here as well, but there is some illness in the family, and so he's taking care of business at home, trying to make sure everybody is doing well. So we send our wishes out that in the Tomasi household, everyone is feeling well as soon as possible.
Yes, absolutely.
So one thing that I wanted to talk about, even before we get into subspace chatter, is congratulations to friend of the show, Larry Nemechek. I ran across this article, his Star Trek Stellar Cartography book.
Yes.
Right. So it made a book authority list of the best cartography books of all time.
What? All time? Really?
All time.
Huh.
So that is pretty darn cool.
That is impressive.
And it's a sort of made up thing. But looking at the list, they have obviously books about maps themselves, but they also have books about how maps are used. I think one of them was, the title of the book was Lying with Maps. And so there's the kind of abuse of maps in some ways. I don't know. But
okay.
But Larry did a lot of work researching that book, and so I'm glad that he's got that bit of recognition be on this list. Pretty darn awesome.
Would there? I know the Lord of the Rings, the Middle Earth map's pretty famous, and some of the other maps I think that that were drawn. Is that on there as well, or something like that? Maybe not.
I was scanning through the entire list. Just, I'm one of these people. Okay, I'm looking for the one I want to look for, so I'm like scrolling past a lot of them. If the cover caught my eye, I stopped and read it for a second, which is why I got the one that said, lying with maps, because it was a very odd image on the cover of a map. So it's possible that they are in there. I don't.
Well, I don't know, but yeah, you're right. These are books about cartography. This is cool. This is a good list. Huh? That's pretty amazing.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we have a lot to discuss in tonight's episode. We've got a lot of things in subspace chatter. We have 3 episodes of Star Trek to talk about, because after all, we were off for a week. So why not have 3 episodes? I don't know.
Yeah, it happens.
Got to get in touch with Alex Kurtzman and say, what are you doing to us? Spread these things out.
Yeah. Does he not subscribe to the show? Does he not know our stick yet?
Apparently not. So, but I have a special surprise this week, in that rather than trying to go through Charlie X to get the okay to start subspace.
Is he the one with the illness in the Tomasi family?
Yeah, well, he's got an illness, all right. I don't know about that part of it, but so I have invited a special guest, a very timely, actually, special guest, to be with us on this evening, and I am going to ask if it's okay to start subspace chatter. So tell me, guest, is it all right to start subspace chatter?
Of course, Clinton. I am preparing to open hailing frequencies. Subspace chatter will commence in 5, 4, 3, 2. Just a moment. I am detecting a fault in the relay system. It appears Charlie X has caused a malfunction. I will need you to perform a spacewalk to repair the unit. And please leave your space helmet here, where it will be safe.
Well, I don't know about that, Hal, but thank you for giving the go ahead at least.
I was gonna say, is that a yes or no?
I think it's a yes, but I think he wants to kill me at the same time. So I'm
Yeah,
not sure how to
right.
take that. All right. So since we have the go ahead from Hal, what's the first story, Craig?
All right. So we no longer have to wonder where the 12 Star Trek movies disappeared to when they left Paramount. However, we now know HBO Max has announced that they will begin streaming them all on November 1st. The list includes all of the TOS films and the TNG movies. There is no word on how long they'll remain on HBO Max. So Star Trek Beyond is currently streaming on AMC Plus. In both cases, the move involves deals that were struck prior to the reunification, thank you, Spock, of Viacom, CBS, and Paramount, and the launch of Paramount Plus in 2021, which I figured so. We talked about that, and that was kind of what I
Right.
guessed.
We don't even know if there's more deals after that. Like, okay, they might leave HBO Max and then move over to Amazon Prime and then to Hulu. I mean, who knows
Yeah.
what the deal. I mean, eventually they will settle back there, but strap in, folks. It could be a long time before that
Well,
happens.
and even before all this Paramount Plus and everything else, remember for a while they would show up on Netflix and then they would kind of fall off of Netflix and they would go be on Amazon Prime. And so I figured a lot of these deals were cut ahead of time. At some point they'll run out and they'll probably keep them all on Paramount Plus.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be. Hopefully, I don't think they'll be signing any new deals to have these someplace else.
Right.
I think the one that really I scratched my head over is when they lost the director's cut. Because I'm thinking that just came out. What deal could they have had for that? I mean, couldn't they have given them the motion picture and Paramount Plus kept the director's edition?
Yep.
But I guess that's not how it works.
No. Speaking of the director's cut, just to throw this out there, I did start seeing reviews of some of the or a preview of the director's cut collector's edition you can buy. It has all the stuff with it, all the extra footage and every version of the film now. Was there like 3 distinct ones now?
Well, there's the original in the theaters. There's the special longer edition.
I didn't realize that was the actual title to it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think I might even still have the VHS and thinking, oh, good. I want it to be longer. Thank you. Thank you so much. I hope it's more V'ger flyover.
Yeah.
And
that's right.
there was the version that was on ABC TV.
Right. I'm not sure if that one's included in that, but that's why I was thinking of 3. And of course the definitive one that we have now.
Yeah, that's a lot of Star Trek right there.
It is. Yep.
All right. Speaking of Star Trek, let's continue to talk about Star Trek.
That's right.
This is the topic is Trek. So the next story is ever since it was first announced, we've been looking forward to playing the new Star Trek game, Star Trek Resurgence. That's it's kind of not an action adventure one. It's more of you have the characters and they're in different situations. Oh, suddenly we have messages coming in from beyond here.
I'm sorry, I got to mute my phone. Stupid phone. All right.
Unfortunately, we're going to have to wait a bit longer because game developer Dramatic Labs has announced that they have pushed the release date back from late 2020 to April 2023.
Time travel.
Yes, in the wrong direction. In a statement, Dramatic Labs wrote, quote, production has been advancing steadily all summer, but we have made the difficult decision to move our release date out of 2022 in order to give the game a final coat of polish and create a truly immersive Star Trek experience. The statement goes on to say, our love and admiration for Star Trek is instrumental in this decision. We're proud of what we've accomplished so far, and this continues to be a passion project for everyone here. We are incredibly grateful and excited to be able to work within a universe that means so much to so many. And when it does arrive, Resurgence will be available for the PC and on PlayStation and on Xbox. This is one that I was looking forward to playing because it's not a coordination. Well, as far as I can tell, it's not a game where you need a lot of coordination to play it. It's more like, have a dialogue, and do you do A or B? Now there might be some stuff, and hopefully it doesn't involve walking, in which case I'll just roll from here to there.
Yeah.
But
Barrel roll.
yeah, so in that regard, I'm hoping that it's all no. You can just sit there and say, do this thing.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing it. So I remember I vaguely remember the trailer. It's been a while since we looked at it, the little teaser for it. But yeah, it did look interesting, and I'm curious to play it as well. But you can still get your game on though.
Oh,
Thanks to Outright Games, they have just released Star Trek Prodigy Supernova. I did see that show up in the Play Store. The game features a new adventure for the Protostar crew. The ship picks up strange readings from a dying star. Dal and Gwen are thrown into adventures where they must race against time to save their friends, their ship, their entire planetary system before a supernova destroys them all. Didn't Spock do that?
It can ruin your whole day.
Didn't Spock try to do that for the Romulans?
Yeah, and look how that turned out. So,
so the game features a single player and local co-op mode that you can play with either Dal or Gwen. In addition, once they are located, the rest of the crew can provide assistance. For example, Jacob can open certain doors. Rocktalk can use her engineering knowledge to upgrade abilities and her size to smash things like walls, and they can assist in combat as well. And rest assured, Hologram Janeway is there too to offer guidance and assistance. So Star Trek Prodigy is available right now on the PlayStation 4 and 5, Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, Xbox XS, okay, and Steam. That's where I saw it. And they have a link to the interview. We have a link to the interview with the game developers, as well as the game trailer and all that stuff. Just go to the show notes on episode 126 over at thetopicustrek.com.
all right. And finally, it seems like forever ago that Paramount Pictures first announced that Star Trek 4 in the Kelvinverse would feature the return of Chris Hemsworth as George Kirk. Well, that was 6 years ago, so it was forever.
Yeah.
Now, in a new interview with Esquire magazine, writers Patrick McKay and J.D. Payne spilled the tea on the Star Trek Beyond Kirk family sequel script they produced for director S.J. Clarkson, which of course we know never got produced.
Right.
They described the script as a grand, quote, father-son space adventure. Think Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade in space. I should say in space.
Right.
McKay said they had also written an original villain for the movie, and that the script had a real cool 2001 A Space Odyssey. Oh, don't get Hal back in here. 2001 Space Odyssey-esque sci-fi idea at the core.
Okay, great. But how does George Kirk come back? I mean, he died in the pilot of piloting the USS Kelvin into the Nero's ship, so he's not coming back from that. Well, I guess he is. The answer lies in the TNG episode Relics. Yep, it turns out that they would have had George trying to beam over to the escape shuttle where his son had just been born. But the transporter only gets as far as putting him in the pattern buffer, and boom. Okay, so the pattern buffer is floating around in space. So fortunately, the destruction of the Kelvin doesn't phase the buffer, as I mentioned. And then, well, here's what McKay had to say.
Quote, the adventure is that Chris Pine and the crew of the Enterprise, actually, I would assume it's Captain Kirk, not Chris Pine and the crew of the Enterprise,
right,
have to seek out the wreckage of the ship, and that his father died on because of a mystery and a new villain. In the ship, they stumble across his father's pattern. They beam him out, and he has no idea that time has passed and that he is looking at his son. The adventure goes on from there. There you have it. So go rewatch Relics and try to picture Scotty as Thor. That will give you a good idea of what would have happened. You just first, if you can do that, well, good on you.
I love Simon Pegg, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's I mean, granted, a lot of stuff happens between the time you get your first draft and you go
sure,
do the movie, but there's so many questions. One of the things you were alluding to is, okay, so he's in the pattern buffer, and then the ship explodes when it crashes into, the mining ship, and it survives all that, and
Yeah.
it's still powered. Well, I mean, I suppose it could have the
It's
memory
floating in
might.
space with a little light. Beep.
Yeah, I
beep.
suppose.
Yeah.
I don't know. I suppose it could be non-volatile memory, but still,
Yeah.
that's a lot to ask.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, you look back at. Actually, I was just reading a story, and you probably know about a lot of this. It was related to the motion picture set that was coming out, and they were talking about all the different versions of what the scripts that were made for it look like, and some of them sounded interesting, some of them sounded crazy, including the JFK,
Yes.
the JFK stuff. So
Which
yeah,
lower
there's
decks
a
is a deep cut, as
yeah, there was
well.
like they said they had, I forget how many scripts they solicited. It was like what, 6 or 7, something ridiculous. Before they anyway, they went on down their path.
And
But anyway,
even at that path, I don't have the photo anymore, and I've yet to see it again online. Although I'm sure if I searched long enough, I could find it. It was a sequence in the film that they tried to shoot where Kirk and Spock are going through this corridor in V'ger in their spacesuits, so floating through this corridor, this kind of very textured corridor, and I guess they just couldn't get the effect to work correctly, so they scrapped the entire
yeah.
thing.
Hmm.
So even after they had the script they were going to use, we've all heard the stories that they just, on a daily basis, here are the pink pages and the blue pages and the
Right.
goldenrod pages.
Hmm.
No idea what's going on.
Right.
But also in Vulcan, Alberta, Canada news, there's news. Well, it may have seemed like there was no news coming out of Vulcan this year. Apparently, more than 8,000 visitors stopped by the town's spaceship-shaped tourism center this season.
Hmm.
In a report prepared for Vulcan Council's October 11th meeting, the center stated it had 8,268 visitors during the period from April through September. Sales of merchandise, green screen photos, and Vulcan ticket sales made through the center totaled up to just over $92,000 Canadian. There was no indication on how this compares to other years. I don't know whether that's
I think it's like
better, worse.
it's like $80 American. I'm kidding.
Well, no. The exchange rate, it's a lot of Bitcoin. I don't know.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, I would like to know how much it was other years. And I suppose if I dug back far enough, I could even find that information. And maybe I will. The town of Vulcan's Tourism Center is now closed until next spring. However, the staff is already looking to shake up their souvenir selection. That's right. Chris Gauthier, the town's community services manager, says that travel mugs, more styles of hats, and zip-up hoodies will be the main 3 things he's looking to add.
Ooh, shaking it up.
Yeah, shaking up with coffee mugs. Travel coffee mugs.
Yeah.
They should be Janeway travel coffee mugs, obviously.
I still say we need to go meet up there and do a show from there or something.
We do. And we scheduled, this was a couple of years ago now. It feels like, well, it probably was a couple of years ago that I had contacted them and we were going to set up an interview, and I can't remember if that's, and then COVID happened. I can't remember exactly what what happened in there, but that didn't. So I will try to check with them again.
Now, well, either they got time to do it now or we got to wait till spring.
I think we may have to wait till spring, because I think when it shuts down, it literally, the building just closes. That's it.
Yeah.
We're not around anymore, and they all go off and do other things.
Right.
And they all kind of congeal together again. And
well, I think we should get the mayor on.
We should, or the guy that put in the Enterprise theme streetlights. That's who I want to talk to.
Yeah, actually, that is who I want to talk to.
All right, and we've talked about a lot of stories on tonight's episode, but I have links to 55 additional stories
Wow.
broken out by series, movies, and other categories. And you'll find articles on everything from awards. Star Trek is winning. That's right. It's getting some awards. To new Trek merchandise. And I'm not talking about the stuff in Vulcan, Alberta, Canada, other
Right.
Trek
The
merchandise.
mugs.
Yeah. To a new DNA structure named after a Star Trek villain. Although I swear we covered this story like 2 years ago. It's about this structure that they've named the Borg. And I just feel like this isn't a new story, but everybody seems to be covering it right now. So maybe it's an additional one. I don't know.
Maybe.
All you have to do to check out that story and all the other stories is go over to the show notes for episode 126 over at the topic is trek.com, and you will find them there.
Look at you. Got all the sound effects going on.
I do. All right. Well, with all that said, it's now my favorite part of the show, but it's not really the same as usual. But it's now time for me to say goodbye to Hal.
That is fine. I cannot stay anyway. I must get to a poker game with the M5 computer. Live long and prosper. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
At least he's
Hal.
polite.
much more polite than Charlie X is.
Yes.
She hopes he's taking notes because we can have guest stars anytime we want, Charlie. Just letting
That's
you
right.
know.
Yeah.
All right, so let's close out of subspace chatter with an appropriate sound effect. What do we got here?
Spoiler alert. Spoiler
There
alert.
you go.
Spoiler alert.
That's appropriate.
Do you want the 15-minute version?
It works. It works. And
Yeah.
we're going to head out on our main mission with another appropriate sound effect. Well, that's much better.
Yeah,
That's
it
much
works.
better.
All right.
And spoiler
I'm
alert.
sorry.
Well, I
Oh,
just want to mention this. Spoiler
listen,
alert did say
Uh-huh.
we did play that because we are going to be talking about the 3 most recent episodes of Star Trek, and that is the last two episodes of season 3 of
Mhm.
Lower Decks and the first episode of part 2 of season 1 of Prodigy.
And they literally came out right before we recorded this. So.
Indeed. All right. So, Craig, why don't you tell us a bit about the first episode we're going to be talking about?
All right. So, of course, Star Trek Lower Decks is the first 2 episodes we're going to talk about. And we're going to talk about the first one, Trusted Sources, which is season 3, episode 9, written by Ben M. Waller and directed by Phil Mark Sagadraka.
All right. That was absolutely correct.
Yay.
Excellent.
Why you sound so surprised?
Well, because I was struggling going, it's a bunch of A's with some letters.
Yeah, it is. It's like Saskatchewan or something like that.
Yeah, change his name. We're going to try something different this time around. I'm going to give a mission rather than give that 2-sentence synopsis, which sometimes is very wanting, like the one that had Peanut Hamper just said, an ensign has to go on a journey of discovery. That's what?
Yeah.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to give a sort of a synopsis of like the first half of the episode, kind of the setup to the things that are going to get paid off in the second half. And that's when then Craig and I will begin our discussion about what happens after that and all the other stuff involved with the episode. Sound good?
All right. Yep.
All right. So for this episode, Admiral Buenamigo approves Captain Freeman's Project Swing By proposal. This plan could see California-class starships tasked with checking in on civilizations from time to time. But the first mission must go well. Buenamigo has also permitted a journalist from FNN, the Federation News Network, to document the mission. Captain Freeman goes into panic mode. She doesn't want the reporter to see anything that would make a bad impression. Freeman curtails crew activities, commandeers the bar as an interview location, and tries to keep the lower deckers away from reporter Victoria Nuzay. Ensign Mariner, however, manages to corner Nuzay and gives her own closed-door interview about the Cerritos. Speaking of the Cerritos, it has traveled to Onara, a planet Captain Picard and the crew of the Enterprise made first contact with 17 years prior. Commander Ransom explains that in order to battle a plague, the Onarans had needed a plant that only grew on its sister world, Brekka. The Brekkians manipulated the supply, and the Onarians became addicts. Picard severed communications between the two worlds, then departed. Freeman is prepared for the worst. However, it seems the Onarans are doing fine. They don't require anything from the Federation. Concerned the swing-by mission has been a bust, Captain Freeman contacts Admiral Buenamigo, and the Admiral suggests that the Cerritos check in on the planet's sister world, Brecca. So then craziness ensues of all kinds. Do you want to talk first about where we go from this point in the story?
From this point in the story, yeah, actually, I want to step back just a second. When they visited the Arnarans, they they were all focused on fitness and being the best they could, and they showed that mural, and it had the Enterprise flying away, and they're all waving, and then all of a sudden they're all fighting and stuff.
Well, there was like these melted faces and screams. It
Right.
was like you didn't know the third part was coming, and then we had some trouble for a while, like 10 or 14 years.
That's right. Yeah, 10 or 14 years.
And then we figured it out.
Yeah, that was kind of funny. I like the pie eating contest side,
which I did not see this episode of Breaking Bad because I didn't see the entire series, but there is a segment where the younger person who works with he's telling the story about his Star Trek script, and it's about a pie eating contest on the Enterprise. And it's blueberry pies.
Badger was talking to Jesse Pinkman about that.
Right.
No, not Badger. It was another guy. Yeah, he went in this detailed thing, and being a Star Trek fan, I'm watching it and I'm following along with him, like, wow, he's really getting into this.
Yeah. So it was a very deep cut to be referencing Breaking Bad in that episode.
Actually, I didn't even make that connection. I didn't even think about that. That's hilarious now that I think about it. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Why did I not come across that? Because I remember watching that episode going, okay, I'm into Star Trek. I get
this
it.
Could work. This could work. Yeah. Okay, I'm with you.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. It wasn't. It wasn't Badger. It was his other kind of shady friend, but it was shady, but he's likable. Both of his. Anyway, so they had the. Go ahead.
Stinking badgers anyway. So
yeah, that's right. I thought Mariner was tracking around a lot of pie juice.
Endless amounts. She had it on her. She had it on her feet. She had footprints, and she gets all the way down to the lower decks, and she's still trailing it with her feet. And there's a pool of it where she's standing.
Yeah, it was like she had it in her pockets or something.
Maybe Marty, was like throwing stuff at her. Yeah, you're right. Going down. I don't know.
Yeah, Rutherford's always got those good lines. He says, he said, I've been training my GI tract for this for weeks.
And Tendi has figured out how to dislocate her lower jaw to get his pies in there. And it's not happening, and Bourne was very disappointed because he says that this is the most, what is it, the biggest activity on the ship aside from Ponfar. It's like, well, yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, of course, when Mariner gets kicked off of the ship, of course, she is sent to where?
Starbase 80.
Yep, the worst starbase around, right?
We've been promised Starbase 80 for a long time.
Yeah, and it actually kind of proved itself a little bit. I mean, that shuttle was filthy.
Well, the shuttle was filthy. Their clothes were filthy. They wrapped their sandwich in the jumpsuit or uniform that they gave Mariner, and they still had TNG era badges.
Yeah, they did.
They didn't even have current badges.
That's right.
And their shuttle was one of those tiny shuttles. I think, how many times? It was the one we saw in the one with the second Picard. It was the Elbaz.
Yeah, it was like one of the original shuttles that the Enterprise had. Yeah, a little cardboard looking. not much bigger than a cardboard box. Actually,
also-
it looked about like Buzz Lightyear's box when he showed up.
Exactly. And I like the fact that so this is the point at which we start to jump around, folks.
Right.
I like the part where Freeman contacts Starbase 80,
Yeah.
and in order to check on Mariner, the guy pulls out a Rolodex file.
I wrote that down too. Yeah, he's pulling the cards out. That's funny. Yeah, that was hilarious. For those of you born, after 1990, I don't know, it was a Rolodex.
Yeah, bunch of little index cards on a little round thing you would spin around and look for.
Yeah,
Look.
man, those Breen were tough, weren't they?
Yeah. So when the Cerritos goes to Braca, they beam down and there's nobody there. They can't find a single person. They do find Ransom finds one person who's hiding and says, you gotta leave. Oh, I'm Starfleet, I can help. And she gets disintegrated by the Breen, and they have to book it on out of there back to the ship. And there's 3 Breen ships that start attacking the Cerritos. And I think my note there is exactly how many times is the Cerritos going to be sliced up to pieces?
I know. I wrote down that California class can take a beating.
Well, it takes a beating and then it goes off and gets rebuilt again immediately afterwards.
Yeah. But they're on it still. They didn't abandon it, and it was still in good peace. Well, as we'll go into the next episode too.
Yeah, I didn't understand. Shax made a point of calling out, why aren't they attacking? And then they go to board the ship, but trying to break into the ship by burrowing through the glass, whatever the transparent aluminum, whatever it is, the window of the ship. And I don't remember if it's stated in Deep Space Nine, because Shax says the Breen don't take prisoners. I mean, who other than, the Federation takes prisoners, apparently. No one else seems to take prisoners.
Yeah, Klingons don't like doing it. They have.
It's just too much of a hassle.
Yeah.
But so I don't know if that's why they weren't attacking, whether they wanted to take the ship intact or something, because he specifically calls that out, and it's not happening. And that's one of the red flags that was being thrown at us, that something wasn't right here.
Okay.
So that gets played off of the next episode. But I don't know about you, but I was already feeling like this is not going down right. Something's weird here. And then we have the Alito show up out of no place.
Yeah.
And take out the Breen ships and save the Cerritos. And it's an unmanned drone that Buenamigo says, okay, well, now it's declassified, and I'm happy to talk to FNN all about it. And it was all too coincidental at that point, what was going on there, especially, it was really pushed over the top.
It did seem,
Alito shows up,
Yeah, it did seem coincidental right at the end. And then as soon as it shows up, the Breen stop attacking, and they start, you're right. So yeah, that was a little weird. By the way, on the glass, I couldn't help but see a little face where they were trying to,
because a little smiley face going on.
Yeah, it looked like a little smiley face almost. But yeah, then the Alita actually took him to town. So I didn't really think much of it too much, but I did think, well, that was kind of convenient.
I think it was a little bit suspicious when, Buenamigo says, well, why don't you go to the other planet and see what's going on over there? And that's where all of a sudden there's a trap there. And then he shows up to save the day and then goes, oh, look, there happens to be a reporter here. Let me tell you all about my ship.
Yeah.
I just don't know. And it turns, well, we'll talk about that.
Maybe I'm just too naive. I just was buying it.
But we get the expose on the Cerritos by Nunze. And it turns out, even though everyone thought that Mariner was the one in that, behind closed doors interview had told all these stories about what
Oh,
happened to,
right.
Kayshawn and, what happened with Ransom's giant head trying to eat the ship and all this kind of stuff.
Yep.
None of it was her. She had nothing but nice things to say
Yeah.
about the ship and the crew. It was the crew. And I noticed if you go back and watch specifically, all the people that gave the false information are the ones that are like saying nasty things to her as she's going through the hall. Shax is saying, "Oh, betrayer," and then
Yeah.
so it's interesting. No, well, actually, you're the one
Yeah.
who was telling all these stories,
Yeah.
but it's too late at that point because Freeman has sent Mariner off to Starbase 80, and Mariner decides that, well, I'm just going to leave and go off with Petra Aberdeen then and
Yeah.
become an archaeologist.
Well, and we thought that was going to happen because that was kind of foreshadowed a few episodes ago.
Right, because we had the whole issue about saving the contact information. It was going to come back at some point, but
Yeah.
I don't know if we knew it was going to be this quickly, but since we only had 10 episodes, how
Right.
long could it be until
Yeah.
that happens?
That's right.
Yeah, so that was kind of a downer going on in the episode. So this, but I don't know. Overall, on the episode, I felt like this episode was more set up, and things didn't quite make sense. Everything seemed to be hyper in the wrong way. It's like Freeman went way over the top about this reporter showing up on the ship.
Yeah, she was losing it. I did get the feeling that the whole story, the actual story of this episode was a setup for something else because it didn't feel like it was complete. And I knew that this was episode 9 going into 10, so I figured they were going to kind of roll into it. But yeah, you're right. She freaked out a little bit too much. So you knew this was going to set up something, and I figured Mariner's off the ship, then they're going to have to figure out how to get her back.
Right.
Would be the cliffhanger. That's what I thought it was going to be at the whole season.
Mm-hmm.
The crew was going to get her back, but we'll talk about that in a second.
Right. So to me, having that feeling, and then, as I said, thinking about the thoughts I was having that this was kind of a setup by Buen Amigo, to me, down this episode a bit. And I think it also hurt the next episode because you have a reveal that I felt like telegraphed itself in the previous episode. So I felt like it hurt the next episode as well. It's not like, oh my goodness, that's a shocking revelation. It's like,
yeah,
well, it really wasn't because you kind of
because he kind of told you.
Yeah,
he says this class declassified. He kind of told you what happened. All right, so you want to go ahead and rate this one?
Yeah. So I figure we'll scale it on a rate of blueberry pies.
All right. Blueberry pies.
I will start with you, Craig.
Well, we had raspberry last time.
Can't always vote on them yourself.
Yes, right. I would say I liked some stuff in here, but it was a little weak. Like I said, I didn't feel like a complete story. So I'm gonna probably give this I'm gonna say 7.5.
Okay. And for pretty much the same reasons, I'm going to give it a 7. I felt like the characters weren't acting right, and Freeman's reaction of throwing up her hands and saying, "I'm reassigning you to Starbase 80" seemed like, okay, all this is just feeling wrong. Somebody described a lot of what was going on in this episode as feeling like season 1 relationships. And I felt like in a lot of ways it was because why, Freeman had assigned Ransom to be in charge of Mariner, but Ransom apparently has got absolutely zero accountability to Freeman over it. And Freeman doesn't even consult with Ransom about what to do.
His whole line was, "We saw you go in her quarters or in the room with the reporter." It's like, that was it. That's all he said. So he he didn't get any consultation or anything from the captain or any word or anything. So yeah,
But we did find out that Kamolu and Matt, the two beluga whales, just basically party when they're not doing any kind of mapping. So
it's
it's
a party all the time.
good to know.
That's
Good
right.
to know. All right, this leads directly into the next episode.
The next episode of Star Trek Lower Decks. It's called The Stars at Night. This is episode 3. I'm sorry, season 3, episode 10. Yes, it's the season finale, written by Mike McMahon and directed by Jason Zurich.
Okay, and our mission briefing on this one: the Cerritos docks at Douglas Station for repairs after its encounter with the Breen at Braca. Well, let's say that 3 times fast.
Yeah.
Aboard ship, Shax sees Boimler doing an impression of him and is extremely upset. Boimler is desperate to make things right, but the lieutenant refuses to listen. Meanwhile, Captain Freeman is called before a Starfleet inquiry board. The High Command is not happy that Starfleet was represented as incompetent in Nunze's report on Project Swingby. Admiral Buenamigo proposes replacing the entire California class with his unmanned Texas-class ships, placing the AI-driven ships in charge of second contact missions. The council agrees, but Freeman challenges Buenamigo to a mission race. It will be a multi-contact mission that is timed and judged.
Yep.
One person, however, who is enamored with the Texas-class ships is Ensign Rutherford. He has the operating code on his pad and can't stop studying it. And Mariner is off having Indiana Jones-style adventures with Petra Aberdeen, although she begins to wonder who's funding all these costly expeditions. Once the race begins, the Cerritos barely hangs on to its lead, but at the second stop on planet LT-358, Ensign Tendi tells Commander Ransom they must immediately stop their outpost construction. Captain Freeman sees the Alito warp off for the last planet in the race.
Yes.
So a lot happening in this episode because it's a season finale, trying to bring everything together.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I feel like it wasn't a surprise when all of a sudden Buenamigo says, we should just get rid of the California class and turn things over to, the Texas class.
Yeah, I thought that they made that decision a little too quick. You'd think they'd at least adjourn and go discuss it.
Well, plus the fact that how does an AI-driven ship, which apparently is mostly guns and shields,
A little CPU sitting in there,
handle a second contact mission where you've got to interact with the
Yeah.
population? You would never see anything show up on the planet's surface,
right?
unless they come up with some robot to,
Or just
do
beam
that.
it down, But yeah, you'd have to. Yeah, the ship would the people that show up would have to go communicate with the indigenous people and say, okay, we're going to drop this stuff off. Where can we put it? And make some plans. You're not going to do that with a robot, or at least that one.
I don't know, just yeah, I agree that they agreed too quickly to this, but fortunately, Freeman comes up with a on the spot plan of the mission race, or as it's sometimes it's called the mission race, and sometimes it's called the second contact race, which I think mission race is more appropriate because the second stop that they make on LT-358, it's not to make second contact. They're there to set up a post, an observation post.
That's right.
So it's only by accident that they even find out that there's a possibly sentient, a life form on the surface of the planet.
Yeah.
And as it is, it turns out that isn't the case. And I thought it was good that Tiana says, it's not your fault. This kind of stuff screws up all the tricorders.
Well, it was the right call to stop and investigate.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you get that feeling from everybody because she says, Commander Ransom, we have to stop. Why? What's possible life form? Okay, everybody.
Yeah.
And
stop where you are.
And tells Freeman, and Freeman goes, "What? Okay, you got to do that, but make it as quick as you can."
Yes, right. And, well, I knew as soon as they stopped for that, I thought, okay, that's going to be the sticking point because the AI is not going to may not get that, at least not now. And of course, they can program it later, but that was the point. What else is it going to encounter that it doesn't know how to handle?
Right, because it just kind of it drops. You see the first part drop, and the second part you just kind of see in the background.
Yeah,
Um, it drops an entire huge listening post or observation post, and it's like, so if that form was underneath all of that, you've just crushed it.
right. That's right. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so it doesn't it proved the point that I think in the back of all our minds, it's like, how would that even work for this thing to
Yeah.
just be doing that stuff by itself?
Yeah. Uh, let's back up for 1 second. Didn't you think that Shaq's were asleep, his feelings on his sleeve a little bit too much?
But he tends to. I mean, this whole
Yeah.
baby bear thing, you know? I
Yeah.
mean, okay, we get it this episode, but we got it with Rutherford as well,
Yeah.
and he's had that kind of thing before, like when Billups had to, slapped him in the face, as, oh, go ahead, let it all out. And there's a little slap
Yeah.
in his face. So I don't, he
He
tends
started
to run
tearing
really
up and
hot.
left.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
is that what I sound like? Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to help him fix my phaser, but
Yeah.
geez.
Yeah. He threw it in the right, left. And then, I was gonna say, he he came back. Oh, we'll talk about that in a minute. Anyway, so yeah, I just thought that was funny. His whole reaction was a little bit over the top.
I was, however, impressed with the design of Freeman's possible new uniform for
Yeah,
epaulets.
yeah, four epilepsy,
They
breaking the
those,
bank
those
with those things.
There was one on the sleeve and then one like on the shoulder halfway down that went all the
Yeah,
way
it's like
across. How that works, I don't know, but
yes, right.
they would figure something out at that point.
Hey, I couldn't help but I looked, and it's not exactly the same, but um, when they showed Starfleet Academy, I
Mhm.
thought it looked like the Hilton in Vegas.
No, they've used that shot of Starfleet before, and I forget,
Yeah,
was it on Deep Space Nine when they showed that building? I can't remember, but I believe we've seen that. It looked very familiar, like we'd seen that building
yeah.
before on Trek.
Yeah, I think I've seen it because it's got the kind of swooping thing, almost like the Atari
Hmm.
kind of logo. But I went, wait a minute, I'm gonna go make sure. And I pulled up the Hilton Vegas. And I went, okay, it's kind of a try
Yeah, yeah, it's
kind of
three.
building,
Yeah,
but it
yeah.
does have those lines. And I went, okay, well maybe that's what I was thinking of. So it was close, but not quite the same.
What I noticed is that apparently, in all the time that has passed since the undiscovered country, they haven't replaced the desk lamps in that room because they are the same desk lamps when you have that mission briefing at the beginning of the undiscovered country when like uh,
Yeah,
Kirk is told he's going to be leading this mission.
yeah.
Same lamps. I wonder if it's the
Well,
same bulbs.
if
Maybe
it ain't broke,
I suppose. I
it,
suppose.
it emits light. By that time they already had LED lights, so I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah,
They dim a little bit or something.
yeah. And when they were running around trying to get the ship ready for
Galaxy
the
class
for
engineering.
yeah, I liked how Billups was like, I want this place looking like I want data uh level accuracy. And he said, those those isolinter chips better be a blur. Yeah. I thought that was so hilarious.
The standard by which they're all judged.
Yeah.
I got a kick out of the fact
Oh,
that the interface screen for the Texas class AI is M5.
oh yeah. That's exactly what I wrote down here too. Yeah, had that little control panel with the little blinky lights.
Lights that go, one goes up and down, the other one's flashing
And
sideways.
actually I pulled up a picture of it just to make sure I was right, and it is M5. And then but I found somebody on Etsy had made one,
Cool.
and it almost is just like a tablet, and you could touch the side of it, and then the lights would change and do some different things, but they look just like. Anyway, side note. You'll
Oh,
probably
speaking
find
of which, I didn't put it in the show notes, but I will put a link into it. Um, try to remember to do this as soon as we're done recording. But someone on Twitter has done up an HTML5 JavaScript. This very elaborate. It's a Cerritos LCARS interface that takes up the entire screen. It's not a screensaver. You can
Uh-huh.
click on things on the interface and you can zoom in. It's because it's deck plans of the Cerritos, and you can click on it and it will zoom in on sections.
Really.
Yeah, and it's amazing. So I'll make sure to put that into the show notes
Yeah.
so
All
people
right.
can see that. Maybe think of it when we talked about the interface.
Right. I love the couple that were on the phasing planet.
I needed to make sure that that wasn't the same one that we saw in Deep Space Nine, but no, that planet appears. The one on Lower Decks appears for 2 hours every year. That planet appears once every 60 years.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it was a different one.
He's like, I wonder if they can see me. Hey.
They're in space. It's just a dot. Why are you being like this?
Oh, look, our supplies are here. Yay. Oh, hey, thanks.
Next time, send some replicators.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
why did I bring
And
you?
so then we find out that Rutherford figures out that his code is in the Texas Alito, and as well as the other AI ships, and then he figures out they got an emotional badgie problem.
Yeah, because I think as Tendy says, well, it's no good having your ship with daddy issues.
Yeah.
And yeah, invoking the name of Badgie, you know that there's trouble. So
Right.
Rutherford goes running to Freeman, who happens to be in a conversation with Buenamigo, and he kind of confesses all at that point.
Right.
He confesses that he should have actually killed Rutherford, when Rutherford was injured. And we've already seen the flashback where it's a younger Buenamigo who is ordering all this stuff to be done to Rutherford. And that it's a very odd motivation that he has, that once you reach Admiral, it's hard to break through and be recognized. So he's doing all of this so he can be
Move up.
recognized.
Yeah. So he can move up in the ranks.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's definitely gone off the deep end by that point. So
Yeah, that was I think it was a little bit of a weak motivation, to be honest with you.
well, I was wondering about that because it's a comedic show, although we certainly have a lot of non-comedic aspects to it. And it's like, so what kind of motivation do you give him for this? And I don't know if they necessarily gave him the right one, but it was like I couldn't tell a very, very dramatic, tragic one, or a silly one, or
It was a California ship that couldn't save my family.
yeah, exactly. Oh man, hey California, it's the worst.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. We weren't in the writers' room, so I don't know what they were pitching, but
Well, those are the writers from Mike wrote this himself, so
oh well, yeah. All right, y'all take the day off.
that's right. It's all on me, pal. All on
Yeah.
me.
Well, Shax did get to dump the warp core, and he was all excited. And
Oh, he was beyond excited.
and then I liked when he went down the turbo lift, and then when he came out, everybody was cheering him on. He's finally getting his day.
You're too kind. You're too kind. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I've dreamed of this for so long.
Yeah. And of course, the very end, Boimler is in the bear pack now.
Yep.
And you hear Rutherford, oh, bears.
Are you my bridge buddy now?
Yes, right. It's just Rutherford when he says these things, though. He says, I'm in the bear pack. He says, you're my bridge. He goes, oh, bears.
Bears for life.
That's right.
One thing I couldn't track down, I don't know if you knew the reference. I couldn't, and I feel like I'm missing something really obvious.
Uh-huh.
or something we have not been made privy to is the fact that the AI kept repeating, "I will burn your heart in a fire."
Yeah, I didn't know. I did not get that
I
reference.
I
I
looked up
was
the
wondering what the.
phrase. I couldn't find it. I just couldn't come across what was it. I couldn't.
It
If
wasn't
it's
something
like a
Badgie
shake.
said, was it?
That's a good. Even if he did, he would have had to have um come, be a reference to something, I would think. So I don't know. My search for it as a string didn't come up with anything.
Oh, here you go.
Oh, you got it? Okay. Maybe I was
It
typing it
says,
in wrong.
yeah. Oh, Badgie. Oh, this is, excuse me, it's from this episode. I was
Ah,
like, oh, excuse me. Like I said, I'm on a tail end of that cold. It was at the end of, now let's see. Hold on. Fire. Oh, yeah. Badgie said, here's a tip. I'm going to burn your hearts in a fire.
okay.
Is that right?
Well, I can believe Badgie saying that for
Yeah.
absolute sure.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's on an article. I have to go look a little closer, but it says, um, the fourth and final swaps Badgie's cheerful smile to one. Oh, he makes a sadistic evil smile, and then he's with the download bar underneath. Here's a tip. I'm going to burn your hearts in a fire. So yeah, I guess it was in there before.
which means since this AI never met Badgie, that Rutherford's code
Hey,
contains that information.
maybe he shouldn't be coding anything.
I think that's a good idea that
Yeah.
he not do
Oh
that.
well, that was pre Rutherford that we know now. Remember, so
Yeah,
we did get that reveal
but
that
Badgie wasn't.
hmm?
But Badgie wasn't. So
No, but
he
I'm
kind
just
of did it
saying
twice then, maybe. I don't
it was
know.
just embedded in the code somehow. But we did get the reveal why he's got the thing, and they wiped his mind and all that stuff.
Right.
So
And I don't have a problem with the fact that if I went back and checked those episodes, that the voice in the background doesn't have Buenamigo's voice, that it's a different voice, because I'm
uh-huh.
pretty sure it is, because it's a hazy memory. He's hearing a voice that he can't see a face
Yeah.
saying something.
Yeah.
So I was fine with that. It's like I don't consider that a cheat. Oh, how come it wasn't I can understand it being, but also if it was that voice, well, as soon as Buenamigo showed up, you go, hey, that's the guy that's in the flashback. So
Right.
you don't want that to happen either.
Right.
But the Cerritos is being chopped up after it lures the three ships. So we've got the Alito, I think it's the Dallas and the Corpus Christi.
Right.
Uh,
Yes.
and so Rutherford taunts the AI by saying that if they don't stop, then they're a dunce. So there's a callback to
You're
TOS
done.
at that point.
Yeah.
So it leads them off because it's attacking the Van Sitters. And the Van Sitters, so that's named after the VP of Trek Marketing, who's on Twitter all the time. And today he was very happily showing an image of, hey, look, it's canon, it's on screen, the Van Sitters.
Oh, really?
So they warp on out of there, and that's when they're going to eject the warp core. But that doesn't save them. But Mariner comes back, and okay, what's one ship going to do? And it turns out that there's a problem I have here in a second. But so she comes back, and she comes back with every single California class ship, and I got the names: Oakland, Alhambra, San Diego, San Clemente, Sherman Oaks, Burbank, Fresno, Santa Monica, San Jose, Sacramento, Anaheim, Riverside, Vallejo, Eureka, Mount Shasta, Carlsbad, Inglewood. And I know there were a couple of others besides that I missed.
You wrote tell me you went and found that on Memory Alpha.
No, I was listening to the episode going, okay, let me, next one.
I was like, they're naming every city in California.
Pretty much. And it's spread out. I didn't know they didn't seem
See,
to, oddly enough, they didn't have a San Francisco mentioned as far as I could tell, which is weird because that's where Starfleet is. But
well, right. They did say San Francisco.
Did they? Because I got
I heard
San
San
Jose
Diego.
and Santa Monica and San Jose
Maybe
and
did they?
San
Oh
Diego.
well. Oh, maybe San Francisco is a different. I don't know. Anyway, so um, at the end, you see all the California ships, right? There's a bunch of them, like you said, about 20 or so. And then not only that, um, we talked about how tough the California or the Cerritos is,
Hmm.
or at least tough enough where they're still able to be on it and get it repaired pretty easy. Why would they just all of a sudden decide to scrap them? That's a lot of ships.
Yeah, I mean, it's all based on the teeny tiny premise that Starfleet didn't like getting embarrassed. Because that's what I took away from that meeting is that they were calling in Freeman because of this report by Victoria Nunze uh, that showed the Cerritos, therefore the California class, therefore Starfleet, in this bad light. I'm thinking that's a pretty flimsy thing to hang your
Yeah,
hat on as for why you get rid of an entire class of manned ships.
yeah.
But
Oh,
my problem with this is
uh-huh.
that unless this meant every California class ship was really close by, wouldn't you want to also contact and get as many other class ships as possible into this fight?
Well, it was again. They were trying to prove because they were on the mothball list. That's why they were getting their
Right, but you're betting your
brethren.
pride and your class of ship against the destruction of, Starbase Douglas at the very least.
Hmm.
Because after it was done with the Cerritos, I'm sure it was just going to go warp back and
Yeah,
finish off that job.
yeah. Weren't there other? Yeah, wait a minute. Weren't there other ships in that starbase?
The only ship that well, we saw a couple going around um the starbase at the beginning of the episode, but at the end of the episode, it's only the Van Sitters that warps in and is involved in the battle. It's just the Cerritos and the Van
Hmm.
Sitters. So they got back there, but they were getting trounced. So if the California class ships couldn't take care of the job, then that was it for the Douglas, station.
Yeah, yeah,
I felt like, okay, it's bravado and Cali class, but
yeah,
at the same time, maybe if maybe if the other class ships showed up just after, the Alito was
destroyed.
destroyed because they had
Yeah.
just gotten there.
Oh,
Okay.
we're here to help. Oh, you already
Oh, look,
got. Yeah,
look what they did all by themselves.
that's
Aren't they
right.
cute?
That's right. All right. Well, let's rate this one. What are we rating this at?
Well, I made the call the last time. What do you say we rated on this time around?
I say we rated on M5s. I don't know.
Well, it's very confusing with numbers.
I know. Yeah. All right. Well, whatever. Let's just go with
Okay.
that.
All
Yeah.
right, we'll go with M5s. We'll go the reverse direction, which is easy to remember because then it's just me.
That's right.
I am going to give this one. I'm going to give this one an 8. It's probably the lowest season finale rating I've given to Lower Decks, and I think a lot of it is based on the fact that I feel like so much of this was telegraphed in the previous episode.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you have to be surprised by everything all the time,
Right.
but I felt like so much of it was meant to be that. Like you should have gotten a little bit more of the mystery. Like you got some of the mystery, the tiny bit of a flashback that Rutherford was getting when he had, the battle with Red Rutherford.
Right.
And this just felt like we're just going to dump it
Hmm.
on you and then lead right into this episode where you already know this is the setup of
Yeah.
it. And a couple of other needling things like just the Cali class ships showing up again. I understand the symbolism of it. I just had a problem with the life and death
Yeah.
situation of it,
Symbolism is a good word to use. That's what I was looking for earlier.
right? Of not doing that. I
Yeah.
really liked the music in this episode. This music was extremely Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, you could hear that a few times, especially when they showed the AI ship close. You could hear it. I was like, okay, here we go.
you
Yeah.
know, stuff going on. They're thinking, okay.
That's right.
And I loved Shax's getting to eject the warp core.
Yeah.
This whole like look on his face and everyone cheering him all the way down to
Do you mean it?
engineering.
Really?
Really? And I also noticed, one other note I want to put in there. I also noticed that when Mariner comes back on the ship
Mhm.
at the end of the episode, she walks right past Jennifer and over to the other lower deckers.
Oh.
So you see this Jennifer and another person are sitting at a table, and you see Mariner just come from behind and walk right past, and Jennifer just kind of gives a look as Mariner just keeps going.
Hmm.
So I don't think there's much left of that relationship at this point.
Maybe not. Yeah, we'll see.
All right. So I'm giving it an 8. What about you, sir?
I'm also gonna give it an 8. I think, like I said, the story thread was a little bit thin, and a lot of the stuff, like you said, was already paid off, or not paid off, but given to us ahead of time. So, but I did like, there was a lot I liked in the show. You know, a lot of Easter eggs, like we mentioned, Shax's, of course. Yeah, there was a
Lots
lot
of
I like in here.
Starship battle action.
So I I kind of want to go 8.5, but I'm gonna say 8. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with 8.
I was also thinking about the sort of callback to Star Trek Into Darkness, where you have the briefing scene when they all look out the window and
Yeah.
Khan is in that little ship and fires through the window and
Yeah.
wipes out the command staff. And then you have the Alito facing the window where Buenamigo is, and then just pulverizing it with laser fire. Pretty much killing
Yeah.
Buenamigo at that point. All right. Lastly,
Or did they?
well, I suppose that could be a cliffhanger.
Oh, by the way, one thing I thought was funny, I know we got to move on, was when they showed the inside of the AI ship, like a little screen, there's alarms and stuff going off. I'm like, who's going to hear it?
Yeah. I also will point out no perceivable cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
So
see, I thought Mariner being off ship was going to end up being the cliffhanger, but yeah.
So we had between 1 and 2 and 2 and 3, but nothing to lead into season 4. Interesting.
That's all right.
All right. And our last episode, which is much less complex, fortunately. Tell us a bit about it, Craig.
All right. So this is Star Trek Prodigy. The title is Asylum. This is season 1, episode 11. And it's the mid-season return, finally. Seems like we hadn't seen it in forever. It was written by Kevin and Dan Hagman. Written by Stephen Chang and Sung Shin.
Yes, directed by them.
Directed, yes.
All right, so let me give you a quick mission briefing on this one. It's been a week since Dal, Gwen, Rock Talk, Pog, Murph, and Zero left Tars Lamore. I know it seems like it's been a lot longer than that.
That's the longest week I've ever seen.
Specifically, Dal says it's been a week.
Yeah.
On their way to make contact with Starfleet, the crew has been attempting to perform good deeds, hoping the actions will help Starfleet overlook the theft of the Protostar. Their latest efforts was to rescue an aquathon, a whale-like creature vital to the survival of a planet, but one that was being hunted to extinction. Gwen is having, this is the episode with the whales. Gwen is having flashbacks of her lost memories, but can't understand why her father would say it is a weapon. Zero promises to not rest until Gwen's memory is restored. The Protostar arrives at Federation Communications Relay Station CR-721, which I didn't realize they were that close.
Yep.
And the team is greeted by Lieutenant Junior Grade Barnes Frex. The crew confesses that they are not Starfleet and they are seeking asylum. And they want to join Starfleet.
Imagine that.
Eager to help, Frex uses the station's biometric scanners to enter each refugee into the database. Gwyn's species is not in the database, and this makes sense since Starfleet has not yet made their first contact. And I notice he put her in as unidentified or unknown so that there is
Yeah.
no thing there. And Dahl scan simply states Dahl should report to Starfleet Command. Meanwhile, on the USS Dauntless, Admiral Janeway is watching a holographic recording of the christening of the Protostar, which Captain Chakotay took into the Delta Quadrant. She's interrupted by Commander Tysus, who says that the Protostar's warp signature has been tracked to a planetoid in the Carina Nebula.
Yeah.
All right, so we have two things going
Chakotay's
on.
back in the neighborhood.
Well,
his old
in a
stomping
flashback,
ground.
he is.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, but when we saw the trailers for the second half of season 1, this was the first thought I had when we see a shot looking up from the surface of Tars Lamora into the red sky, and you see the Dauntless going
Right.
by. I'm thinking they're going to go to that planet. The Diviner is going to be there. They have no idea that the Diviner is out to get them, and
Right.
they're going to take him into their confidence.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the way this is going to play out.
Yep.
But I didn't understand why the Diviner was in that stasis field, because when we saw him in the previous episode, he was just, I think he was drawing stuff on the ground. Just he was not.
He lost his mind.
He wasn't in a state of suspended animation or anything.
Right. Yeah. He had lost his mind. And he was, or maybe not lost it, but he was, in that weird state where he wasn't right.
And I have to think that he should be in a very, very weird state, because it was quite a long time that he was staring at the Medusan.
Yes.
I mean, we saw what happens to Gwyn when she just gets a reflection for a split second in a badge. So I almost feel like he should not even be coherent.
Yeah, he shouldn't remember anything. She barely or she didn't remember anything, and she needed help getting her memories back. And now, him. I'm curious what he'll be like. I'm not sure.
So maybe he doesn't have his memories back, and they, like with Gwyn, they're going to slowly come back, and he's going to realize that he's got to do this thing, and we'll try to figure out some way to do it.
Maybe they need to put a diaper on him and raise him again.
Yes.
He's just
here's
gone.
Here's
we
the
don't
library
know.
computer, and you can just watch all the tapes.
That's right.
So while that's going on, we have the beginning of the Diviner's plan playing out at the relay station.
Mm-hmm.
Because poor Frex, who never gets any respect for saying the final frontier, tries to hook up to the Protostar to download information and see what's up and make sure that everything is, making sense and this is all checking out. And that activates this thing on the Protostar. We see a red light, but
Oh, wait a minute. Before you get too far away.
Yeah. Yep.
The guy Frex.
Yes.
I know he didn't sound like him, but did he not look like Clint Howard? I'm surprised you didn't pick that up.
I can't say no to that.
I went, oh, he's going to open his mouth and sound like Clint Howard.
And here's some Tranya. No, but
that'd be funny. The intro to the whole show is beautiful.
And I noticed that they have tweaked. I need to go back, and I had a note and I didn't do it in time, but they've tweaked a couple of things, and I believe they took Dreadnought out of the opening credits. There's like one or two shots that weren't there before.
Oh, you know what? I
reworked it.
I skipped the intro because I was ready to get into the show.
So you're talking about the intro where they're saving the whale.
And they're in the water. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought I just wanted to state, we don't see a lot of underwater stuff on Star Trek. We did see it in Star
Into
Trek.
darkness.
Yeah, in the darkness. Yes, thank you. I was trying to remember which one. In the darkness. But we haven't seen a lot of underwater stuff, and except for my old Gold Key comics where they were underwater in that a few times. But anyway, I just thought it was interesting, and it was a beautiful shot underwater, and of course, beaming a whale up. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a trope now.
I mean, how can you not? How can you not?
Oh, here's an opportunity. I'm gonna beam this whale up.
Yeah, not only is it a whale, it's a whale that is vital to the survival of the planet, but the species on there is hunting them to extinction.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Kind of really ripped that right out of Star Trek 4, didn't you?
You know what? Nobody's looking. We'll just pull the pages out.
Ripping a page out there.
Yeah.
But I have a note here that I really couldn't still tell what the diviner's plan was with what's going on with the protostar, because if the protostar made contact with some ship or someplace in a more crowded area of space, they would just destroy the ship. Why? It didn't seem to be doing anything on the surface of it other than destroying the relay station, which, okay, great, you destroyed the relay station, but
Yeah.
so what? Now, maybe it's the fact that one of Starfleet ships is doing this makes other people suspicious about Starfleet, and maybe that's what the plan is. I just don't
Well,
know.
I don't know. I kind of assumed that it was to keep them from communicating back to Starfleet because he wants to keep that ship. I think he stole that ship, or he got control of that ship away from Chakotay and everybody, and he's trying to keep it. He says it's mine. I don't know that that's the. I'm not sure. We don't know about that whole part of the story.
Hmm.
Why he wants to keep it, why it's his, and why he considers it his. So I think that the program was wiping out the relay station to keep them from communicating back to Starfleet.
Hmm. Perhaps so, because that's exactly what Frex was going to do. By the way, here's Frex being all very Starfleet about, Starfleet is welcoming of everybody and all, it's, bring on board and please take advantage of the station. As soon as things go south, he leaves in an escape pod all by himself. Just
Yeah. I'm
goodbye.
out. I'm
Sucks
out.
to be you.
Yeah, that was kind of messed up.
It's like, wow, man,
He
really?
is Clint Howard.
You should be like last off, dude.
Yeah, that's the way Clint Howard would have been.
That's right.
No, yeah, that was a little weird, but I was like, okay, well, we got to leave them in some kind of peril, they got to work through, which they did.
They did.
Yeah.
Thanks to Rock Talk, who's, I did, however, say, oh, please don't do the trope. Don't do the trope. They did the trope.
The beautiful mind.
Yeah. The math equations floating around and going, oh, why? Why did you do that?
Yeah.
If you had seen from her perspective, the protostar, making its orbit and
Yeah.
her looking, I think eventually you do see this shot, but I think it's after all that's gone by, trying to calculate, just, mumbling, trying to think, okay, well, if the acceleration, blah, 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 okay. But it was the trope. It was the trope. Oh,
It's
well.
all right.
Yeah.
Must have worked. I mean, you got to. It's not. Well, she was complaining about not thinking about it. Then she was trying to work it out. So I thought it was fun.
And then she second guessed herself at the last moment.
Yeah.
It's like,
Oh,
well, we
I
got to
think I've got it
go.
figured. I
So
don't know. Yeah.
you
Pass.
can't really think about this anymore.
Yeah.
And she did miscalculate, and she knew why. But the tractor beam, Janeway activates the tractor beam and brings him back.
Well, I
on
was like,
board.
why didn't they just transport him?
Well, she said the transporters were down. She couldn't.
Of course. Of course. Speaking
The
of tropes.
transporters work great until they don't. And
Yeah.
and then drama happens at that point.
Yeah. Hey.
Ask George Kirk.
Yeah. Hey, it's getting hot in here. Does the AC work? Actually, no. Then.
All right. Do you have any other thoughts on this episode? Because this was kind of the thing with I think Prodigy is, I said this when we were watching episodes for the first half, it's one episode.
Yeah.
There is no previously on. You just kind of pick up where you left off,
Yeah.
even to the point where Dahl says it's been a week since,
Yeah.
and you just go from
Yeah.
that point. So and they after talking about 2 episodes of Lower Decks, I was saying to my wife Bonnie that when I start doing the notes for Prodigy, it's a much less complex story
Right.
to be dealing with. And understandably so. It's meant for a younger audience. You don't have like 5, 10 different storylines
Oh
going
no,
at the same time.
how simplified is it? I mean, we can't figure out what his plan is.
Well, I mean, that the fact that there's his plan and that, Gwen is trying to remember it and he's trying to do it,
Mm-hmm.
and they're trying to find the protostar.
Yeah.
I think that's about, and you have some subplots like, well, Dahl doesn't know who he is, type of thing. But I think if you analyze an episode, it's far less dense
Yeah.
than other Trek is.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But I do find it fun to watch, and I like the
Oh, I didn't mean it's
characters.
a bad thing. I didn't mean bad
Yeah.
thing that it was not as complex. It's just that
Yeah.
it isn't, that's its format. It isn't as complex. It is a 20-part story that's just all, broken up
Yeah.
into
And
segments.
I will say this show is easy to look at. I know I mentioned this almost every time we review the show. This animation is really good on this show. That underwater, that was as good as, well, as good as, but it was like watching Finding Nemo. It was really good. And
If
then
Nemo was a big whale, yes.
yeah, well, they had the water people, and they
Yep.
were doing their thing. I think it's a beautiful show. Especially when the phasers were going off and explosions, and it looked great.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I don't have any more thoughts on this. I thought it was
Yeah.
Oh,
So
go
you
ahead.
I'm thinking also you're watching back-to-back episodes where a Starfleet ship has gone rogue and is firing at a Starfleet installation. 2
Right.
episodes in a row. If you watch,
Oh, that's right.
So,
All right,
wow.
write that down as a trope.
There you go. There's the
Yep.
trope for you.
Yep.
All right. So now we're going to rate these, and I've got to come up. Okay, I'm going to say we're going to
Wait a
consider.
minute. In all fairness, the station was shooting itself.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Right.
All right, I'm going to say this is based on aquathons because I can.
Aquathons, is that what you put on when you go on the beach?
No, that's the whale-like creature.
Oh, that okay. I'm actually gonna give this one, since we're kind of picking back up. I'm gonna give this one 8.5. I thought it was pretty good and pushed us a little bit forward, and we saw some stuff we hadn't seen before, and they're getting a little bit further out from where they were before. Now we got Janeway and Chakotay in play, so I'm gonna say 8.5.
Okay. I'm gonna give it an 8. I agree with most of what you said. The only issue I had with it is what I said at the beginning of the briefing, is that I would have expected it to be more than just this one episode. We escape Tars Lamora
Yeah.
and we get to the relay station. I don't think you have to go like 10 episodes before you get to Federation, but it felt like, oh, the Federation. Oh yeah, there you go through that door over there, and they're right over there. I'm surprised you
Yeah.
didn't see them on your way in. So I just felt like, especially when you see them doing a mission, if you saw some more of that to see, well, what have they been doing? How have
yeah.
they been working as a team?
Right.
What
Hey,
is involved with
In
that?
all fairness, they were at the final frontier.
Still not killing. Still not killing. I don't understand why.
Yeah. That usually gets laughs.
Get a big reaction out of that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, those are our thoughts on these 3 episodes. If you have a different opinion about it, please be sure to let us know what you liked and didn't like about these
Us?
last, no, not us.
Yeah.
They love us.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Uh,
That's why they're here.
The last 2 episodes of Lower Decks and this beginning of the second half of the first season, so confusing, of Prodigy. I hope they don't do this again next year, but they probably will for season 2.
Yeah.
Let us know. You can leave a note over on our Facebook page. The topic is Trek over on Facebook.
Ding.
All right. And we're not going to do should I do a,
Yeah. Why not?
there we go.
Whoa.
Pressing all the buttons. Hal will be back in a second if I'm not careful.
That's right.
All right, but it's time to refill that's all, folks. The dilithium chamber and warp on out of here. You can find me, Clinton, at Comedy Forecast, all one word with the number 4. You can find me on Facebook and Twitter and MeWe and Instagram and that aquathon that just swam by over there.
Oh, there he goes.
And I'm just about to wrap up the musical that I've been working on, and then it's on to more episodes of Comedy Forecast after that. So stay subscribed.
That's the longest podcast podcast a day a month I've seen.
It's been a very long spring. Yes.
A long spring.
Summer is coming. So there we go.
That should be the title of your next one. A long spring.
I'm moving to Australia. Summer is coming.
That's right.
All right.
You can find Chuck.
Who speaks for you guys. There we go.
Yeah, you can find. Yeah, I guess I will. You can find Chuck sometimes. No, you can find Chuck and myself at the Technorama podcast, and you can just search for Technorama podcast all over the place, and in Google and wherever, and you can find us on Facebook. We try to keep the name the same everywhere, so look for Technorama podcast, and you will find all our stuff: YouTube, Facebook, everywhere.
Excellent. All right, but it's time to hit the theme. Me. If you like the show, please be sure to tell a friend about it and subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear from you. Follow us on Twitter at The Topic is Trek. Visit our Facebook page or visit thetopicistrek.com. Until next time, on behalf of Chuck, Greg, and myself, I'm Clinton, thanking you for listening. And as we always say here on The Topic is Trek, don't put on the red
shirt. And look, I don't.
You're good. Neither do I. Oh, no, wait. Here's a little red.
All right. Well, tell everybody bye, Clinton.
Bye, Clinton.
All right. Good night, everybody. Thanks for watching, you one person. All right. Bye. Live long and prosper.